to the debut episode of White Heat, a pro wrestling podcast presented by Gozilla Media and sponsored this week by the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. We'll be opening back up in the upstate New York, physical locations, but in Greene County, downstate New York. But we are proud to have them on board, as well as their debut show. That'll be on their induction weekend in late August of this year, called the Inaugural Ball. That show is going to be held at the Watervliet Sports Dome in Watervliet, New York. And then the induction ceremony that weekend will be at the what's formerly known as the Desmond in Albany, right off of Wolf Road. I'm Brian Cady. I'm being joined by my special guest host. That'll be a co-host every single week, and I feel like I need to give a proper introduction. I did tease there was a surprise that I wanted to do at the beginning of the show. Something that was done completely wrong earlier this week on another wrestling show, so I want to make sure I have the right thing going on here. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see here. I don't know. I think that was the version they were going for on Wednesday night. My man, JJ Alexander. JJ, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, it's good to see you. I don't know if we've got the static surrounding us, what's going on, but we're going to work through it. My ears are buzzing.
Let's see. So here's the thing. By the way, as far as the social media and that stuff you can do, you can follow me on Twitter at brian.cady, BRIANCADY. You can follow JJ at JJ_Alexander. And of course, you can send in any comments, questions that you want about the show. We're going to do it at brian.cady at GozillaMedia.com. That's GOZILLA media.com. So, I guess the way to go about this before we get knee deep into our conversation is to just, I think it would be best to just put it out there as far as the experiences we've had in the wrestling business. Yours a lot more in depth than mine. Mine's pretty simple. So, JJ, why don't you go ahead and just just so they don't think it's just two random people, which is like a lot of podcasts these days, I guess. Instead of just being two random people saying, "Hey, let's have a wrestling podcast when we like the sport," or let's create a TikTok so you can put out our opinions about the sport. Why don't you go, just not completely in depth, but just give a little overview of your experiences in the wrestling business and why we both believe you're qualified to be on this show.
Okay, well, let's see. Been in the business going on 17 years now. Started off working ring crew for Assault Championship Wrestling in Connecticut. Started training under Mikey Milano and Just Incredible for Defiant Pro Wrestling. I have done pretty much every facet that I can. I've done ring crew, ring announcer, commentator, manager, in-ring talent, booker, promoter. So I think I know my way around a ring.
So here's the with me. So the way it all started for me was my story's a little weird. Okay. Originally, I was still working. Oh, jeez, this had to be around like 2008, 2009. I was actually part of wrestling at all yet, but I was still working at a Staples, and I was working in the copy center one day, and this wrestler named Chris Envy came in. I had no idea who he was. I see that's the reaction, but the story's kind of funny. He comes in. I have no idea who he is. None. I hadn't even been privy to independent wrestling yet. So he comes in and he orders some pictures to be printed out. So I go and I'm looking at the pictures. You go wrestling pictures. I realize they're promo pics. I'm like, and he wrote down his real name, which I'm not going to reveal on the show. It's not
Sebastian.
But he put an order in. He put the order under his real name, and I see the promo pics. I'm like, it's kind of cool. He's a wrestler, So when he comes to pick up the pictures later in the day, I kind of started a conversation, and he was picking up that I was a wrestling fan, and he was like, "You're interested in getting involved in the business?" I'm like, maybe, I don't know. So on the spot, he's like, "Hey, I'm doing a show. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere downstate in New York, not too far, like maybe an hour or so from where I was, just outside of Albany." And I was like, "Thanks, but no thanks. But can you mind stop by the store maybe sometime? Again, and we can talk." And that was a dead and gone thing. Fast forward to, I want to say it was like 2013. And I do my first announcing gig as a ring announcer for a startup promotion here in the area. And who shows up as one of the talent for the show? Chris Henry. So, go figure. It turned into PA announcing for that. Not PA announcing, but ring announcing for that to get hooked up with him and his startup company, The Dynasty, which may not be in the works of coming back, but that's one thing or another. And then led to me getting involved with some other promotions here in the area as well as in England. And obviously meeting you along the way and getting involved with Dissension Pro Wrestling, which, we'll get into down the road. We'll get a little more in depth with that down the road.
Well, remember, we originally met in Revival Pro Wrestling.
So that's how that's how me and JJ met. Was me. I don't even know if that's a story worth getting into. Yeah, I'm gonna just. We'll hold off on that story. That's another story for another. I feel like we could do a whole episode to just where JJ and I met. The like 3 or 4 months that we ended up spending in that one promotion together, which was like that took 5 years off my life, just those 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And then how I got suckered into. How I got brought into being involved with JJ and that whole tournament. Yeah, that could be a whole show I feel like in itself, and we'll deal with that down the road. But so here's the basic layout of what we're usually going to do with the show. We'll do some news and notes, outside of the ring, and obviously we'll get to the big story that happened over the last 24 hours at the moment. And then this is going to be predominantly week to week, a WWE focused show. We'll do week review. We'll go through Raw, NXT, SmackDown. Those are the 3 main things we'll cover. If anything big time really happens in NXT UK or 205 Live, which 99% of the time doesn't happen, but hey, whatever. Aside from maybe the Petey Williams and AJ Sterling loser leaves match, whatever that was this week. Anyways, I know you're giving me that look.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All I know is I saw a clip of somebody using a fire extinguisher during the match, and that was really all I know about it. That's all I know. So we got that, and then we're also going to have a weekly top 5 list on different topics each week, called the Hot List. And this week's topic is a hot one because it's something that everybody has an opinion about. I mean, everybody.
Yep.
I think I go a little outside the box on my list for this topic this week. I'm with a couple of the people that I have on it. We'll get into that later. And then it is a pay-per-view weekend. It's WrestleMania Backlash weekend, so at the end of the show, we'll just give some quick predictions for what we think is going to happen with matches. Don't get me started about the Fatal 4 for the IC title being on live TV next week. It's on cable. It's not on pay-per-view. Let's not put that on pay-per-view and make money off it. No. Let's put it on free TV.
Well, I
bang
mean,
my head on the desk. Listen,
it's not really like pay-per-view buys aren't the same thing anymore.
Yeah, but it's still the IC title. That's
all.
All right, so let's just start off with obviously for outside the ring notes. The news we got really actually was like within an hour of SmackDown going on the air last night. Was ECW? I mean, when I say legend like that, in my opinion, that's putting it lightly because he not only had, because honestly, it goes beyond ECW. It also goes into, and this might be something not a whole lot of people know unless they watch the Dark Side of the Ring about New Jack. Smoky Mountain. Him and Mustafa were hot. Like, when I say white heat is the name of the show, those two had white heat at Smoky Mountain.
Yep.
If you don't understand it, go watch Dark Side of the Ring about New Jack, and just, if you don't YouTube some clips, just watch that episode of that show, because they show some clips. Woo! Just think about it. Okay, here's the scenario. You have two African-American males who are in the middle of hill country, USA, looking to make it big in the business.
During the Rodney King and OJ era.
So we were white hot in Smoky Mountain. Then they come to ECW as the Gangsters, obviously. And then New Jack, we all know about his solo run and his stuff with Jack Victory and just so much stuff there. But I know that he passed away. I believe he was age 58 from a heart attack. Now, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and his friends. But I know that JJ, you had some, you had some experiences. So did our good buddy Jimmy Mees had some experiences with New Jack as well. So just kind of, if you can, just kind of talk about a little bit about your experience with New Jack and your thoughts about his passing.
It's there were some definite experiences and bona fide memories with Jack. He was crazy. He was hilarious, and he was the sweetest man I ever met. Like, honestly, people who talk shit about Jack never spent time with him. He was a fucking sweetheart. And like I was trying to dig through. I've got some mini DVDs. There was a convention that we did in Connecticut back in 2010, the Icons of Wrestling convention. And I've got footage of Jack hanging out with us, just goofing off, being hilarious. And I need to like upload that shit to YouTube or something, because he was so much fun that day. And yeah, I was just talking to, there was a show back in the day. He was working a tag team match for ACW. And little backstory to the match, this one person in the match was complaining wasn't getting a push in the company and was being a big baby about it, and said he wanted time off to go plan his wedding and yada yada. And Jason Knight, the booker, was not a very nice individual and decided to put the Iggy in to New Jack and the other people in the match to beat the ever-loving hell out of this person with everything they had. And this guy took a beating, took so many chair shots and table shots and so much during the match. And at the end, the bell rings. Jack is standing there on the apron, and he just turns and goes, "Man, you just got beat worse than a black man caught fucking a white woman in 1820. And I died. I died. That man was a national treasure, and I'm going to miss the hell out of him.
it seems like everybody who was even if they weren't part of ECW, if they were, just somebody that was working the indies and had the chance to even share a locker room just for one show. Which I know, Raw announcer Corey Graves, he just tweeted something. I think it was this morning about how um, how people don't leave a mark very well, but when you share a locker room with Jack, he can have you laughing to the point where your face hurt the next day. So it seems like everybody has some kind of story in a positive way, which is amazing because I feel like a lot of the dialogue surrounding New Jack for a while there, especially after the victory stuff, that one incident involving the kid, and I
Master
can't
and
remember the exact story. Yeah, and then obviously there was also that old dude. He
Gypsy Joe.
Dance. Yeah, so it was like a bad aura in a way for whatever reason around him. But if you talk to the guys that he worked with, and shared locker rooms with, they always seem to at least have fond memories and some kind of story. So, to that regard, it would make you wish that stuff was coming out sooner than it did, because it just kind of left Jack hanging there a little bit, where he had to create that positive stigma around him. I think Dark Side of the Ring helped that because you got to see the humor from him. So, obviously, it's sad, but we obviously send our thoughts and prayers to Jack's family, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 50 from a heart attack. So, obviously, we continue. We'll dedicate this show to his memory, as JJ pours one out for him. And absolutely, I totally understand doing that. So let's just get right into it and see what we can pull up from just general news and notes. Just a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to throw this out to you as a question because as a promoter, as somebody who has run shows and been a part of shows behind the scenes, I need your opinion on something because people were going boo-boo over this. So as we all know, and I know this is a name you probably like coming up, but I'm not going to. So Kenny Omega, not this week, but the week before, if you watch AEW, he did a promo where they were setting up this week's match that happened between Hawk and Cat and Orange Cassidy treating him with the 10 Gorilla. But the week before, Omega came out and was doing an interview promo with Tony Schiavone. And when he came out, this is what caused stupid stuff to be said. For those of you who aren't aware, for whatever reason, he's technically AEW World Champ. He's Impact World Champ. I don't know why they consider him two separate titles. Impact Champion and TNA Champ.
It's
and
unified.
AAA Mega Champ. Yeah. They're kind of they're basically kind of doing what WWE did there for a little while, where they combined the world title and the world heavyweight title, the WWE title, and called it the WWE World Heavyweight title, which is the dumbest thing ever. Because basically you had one champion carrying two belts for no goddamn reason. But anyways, it'd be so stupid. It created a nice visual with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, but other than that, the two belts thing was stupid. Let's just put that up. But anyways, but people got butthurt because Kenny had the AEW title around his waist. Well, instead of putting any of the other belts on his shoulders, he had Michael Naka-Zawa wearing the TNA title around his waist. Then having the AAA, I think it's AAA Mega Champion belt and the Impact belts, both belts over his shoulders, not on Kenny's shoulders. Now, we discussed in private how we think Impact is getting it shoved up their rear end in this whole deal with AEW. We won't get too far into that. But, as a promoter, let's say, for example, let's just say you were what's his face? Scott D'Amore. That's the name of it. Let's say you're Scott D'Amore and you're helping run Impact. If you saw that as that in that role for Impact, if you were Scott, how would you have personally felt seeing Kenny only wearing the AEW belt? Would you have even thought twice about it? Is this just fans being fans, or is this a thing where the promoter has a right to kind of, be pissed about this?
Promoter has a little bit of a right to be pissed about it, because you're basically having a second banana wear your belt. Like, it's, I don't know. I mean, like I said, Impact's getting screwed in this whole deal, and it's the fact that they never should have gotten into this deal to begin with, because it's not helping them any. Their ratings aren't going up. No one's buying more Impact pay-per-views. No one's watching Impact. Like, they're not getting anything out of this, and it's going to get to the point where they're going to be like, okay, it's time for you to drop the title back, and Kenny's going to go kick rocks. And AEW is going to be like, take us to court. What are you going to do? Sue us? Like, so in that aspect, like, it just seems like it does seem like the fans are being petty, but at the same time, it's Kenny Omega being petty, because that's what he does best.
Same AEW show. You know what? It's probably best I leave it alone.
Oh, come on!
I'll tease it that the ending of that show.
Poof!
Whoa. I'm not gonna do that. There's been enough stupid content about that from
Poof!
wrestling creators. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not touching it.
Poof!
Alright, so in case you can't tell by now, after about 20 minutes of us being on, we're not here to kiss any promoter's ass. Let's just be blunt about that. We're not here to kiss Vince and Paul's ass. We're not here to kiss the Bucks' asses. We're not or Tony Khan's. We're not here to kiss Scott D'Amore or Don Callis' asses. We're not here for that. Okay? For those who can't tell, just throw that out there. Quite frankly, look at me. I'm too big for anybody to want somebody like me on TV. JJ is too blunt for anyone to try and touch him. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Unless somebody somehow got the rights to ECW, like, and wanted to go down the 1990s road of ECW again, and maybe JJ gets in.
Maybe.
Let's be frank. So we're at the point where we're just in Black Referee's bucket mode, and we're just gonna go for it. So we're gonna put it out there. So this week, so we touched that one moment last week. This week, I'm not gonna talk a whole lot of AEW because, like I said, that gets.
Because I don't watch it.
All the fans love the pop for AEW because it's the revolution, and so this week on AEW was the celebration of Pinnacle, aka Tully Blanchard's wannabe new Four Horsemen or whatever. And so Inner Circle comes out a la DX with the it's DX / Steve Austin kind of thing that we eventually will figure out by the end of the segment. And it's Guevara, Hager, and Santana. Which, for whatever reason, Ortiz is not in the building. He's not arrested. That's just stupid story. So it's just Santana, Santana. I think everyone Santana, Hager, and Guevara. Guevara's doing the talking. And they keep teasing Jericho at different parts of the segment. because MJF is saying that he basically sent Jericho packing, that kind of stuff. But here's what gets me, and you know where I'm going with this. At one point, because you can feel they're building to Jericho showing up at some point in the segment, they do a camera angle from the opposite side of the ring, facing the front of the vehicle that the inner circle is on, and it shows Jericho peeking out, looking for his cue. And you gotta be shitting me. He looks like a 4-year-old playing hide and go seek.
Looking like a prairie dog.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And it goes to, I'm going to quote you, because you came up with this line, and I love it. I believe the line was, billionaire owner, minimum wage producers. How do you not pick a camera angle other than that? Like, come on, man. Come on.
Because they got camera people. They got camera people that are just collecting a check and don't care. That's the beauty of NXT, especially back when they were at Full Sail, was they've got all students who are fucking interning, who are trying to get jobs, so they bust their asses to make sure every freaking camera bit is on cue. AEW don't give a fuck. They're getting a paycheck.
I can't really fun with that because it's self-explanatory. And if you didn't see it, please just go. You'll see why it's funny, yet shit-tastic at the same time.
Yeah.
Best way for me to put it. Alright, so let's get into the product that actually cost millions of dollars. WWE. So let me just okay. Let's start with Raw, and I gotta say, I just have very brief notes from each what I wrote down as the quote unquote segments. Obviously, the way I break it down isn't going to be broken down the way it's shown on TV because I don't count the commercial breaks. I'm not going to break it down by TV segment, break it down by the way I would break it down as segments, like how they're broken down backstage as segments. I'm not going to go, okay, segment 1 was the start of this match. Then we had a commercial break during the match. Segment 2 is a continuation match. I'm not doing that shit, okay? Okay? I don't give a shit if you saw 3 Subway commercials in a row. I don't care if you saw a promo for Ms. and Mrs. and whatever stupid movies being down that's coming out at the end of the month. I don't care about that. No. We're going based on the way segments are booked backstage. Number 1. So the start of Raw was that 6-women tag match, or should I say 3 workers, 2 fitness models, and a hot mess, which were the 3 wrestlers would be Claire, Baszler, and Asuka in the match. The 2 fitness models were Dana and Mandy, and the hot mess, well, I think you know who the hot mess was. Or is. Nia Jax.
Why does everyone always have so much hate for Nia? I fucking love Nia.
There's something about Nia I want to touch on from last night on SmackDown. We'll get to that. But yeah, so basically, for whatever reason, the faces go over, and Asuka, Dana, and Mandy. Why? Because I guess Dana and Mandy live there. I don't know. Which is funny. You know what happens last night on SmackDown? Why did they never? So they win, and Alexa Bliss appears on stage. So I guess the question becomes, because the match really meant nothing in the long run. Let's just be flat out honest about that, because A, didn't involve Rhea Ripley, so whatever happened between Flair and Asuka didn't mean a damn thing. And B, given what happened last night on SmackDown, what happened between the 2 tag teams in the 6-woman tag didn't mean the damn thing either. So, where's Alexa going with, like, if you had to put out I have a guess. Where do we? I would assume Alexa's going at Asuka because none of the other 5 to me makes sense. Like, what,
I
missing
think
something in what's going on here?
I think Alexa being out there was a red herring all around to throw people off, because if you noticed, I think it was last week on Raw, and it was one of those things where you really had to catch it. There was a backstage segment where Sonya Deville was walking backstage, and in the back, in the fucking dark, sitting on one of the production boxes was Lily. It was a blink and you miss it moment. What? You're breaking up, bro.
This Alexa thing is being pushed in this direction is because of, I'm not sure if you heard about this, and I know I told you behind the scenes during the week I was going to stay with my worksheets, but I saw this article and I clicked on this. There was news out there that a big reason Bray Wyatt's been off TV since basically Christmas, except for WrestleMania, obviously. The big reason he's been off TV so much is because he's been having a lot of mental health issues regarding the death of Brody Lee. And he asked for time off, he needed time off, no deal for that. He came back from Mania. Vince didn't like the shape he was in for Mania. And he approached Bray about it. Bray said, I'm still not here mentally. So now he's back off. That's the gist of the story here. Whether it's true or not, I'm not going to put 100% confidence into it. I don't doubt that the Bray and Brody Lee stuff could be true because those two were close. So yeah. I'll give that maybe that. The Vince story from WrestleMania, there's been stories for eons. Like you could probably the list of Vince stories would legitimately be as long as the 1005 holds or whatever it was that Jericho had to list for WCW. Okay, those stories could go that long. Okay, but so I'm not gonna put a lot into the Vince part of this, but I guess it's a two-part. Is this Alexa angle being pushed that way because there's no Bray right now, and they could have something between Alexa and Bray? And then B, do we like the way the Alexa's playground stuff has been kind of creepy in a way and kind of enjoyable? Like it's more entertaining than more than half the stuff that's on the show to begin with, so it's not that far to be entertaining with that. Like, is it a good way to approach with her to just keep on keeping on, even though Bray's not around? I'm kind of different about it, but I think she's got a sense that character well enough where she can keep going with it as long as there's some kind of payoff that involves Bray now. That's the big thing for me. To me, and don't keep going with it if you can't get Bray somehow involved at the end of the payoff. That's because you can't just have what happened at WrestleMania without something following. That's my view. What's your point?
You underestimate the WWE creative team. That's the thing, is there should be a payoff. Will there be? Nah. I mean, you remember how hot Retribution was supposed to be? I'm just saying. They had no clue where to go with that past the originally shot vignettes. They didn't even know who the fuck was going to be in it. So, judging by the Alexa situation, when it was an extension of Bray, I loved it. Now that it's split from Bray, it just feels like it's going to be treading water and it's going to lead nowhere eventually.
Strowman backstage talking about taking out Drew, whatever. Then we had the other backstage promo with Priest, Pearson, Miz, Morrison, whatever. So then we fast forward to the next seg. So we have Jinder Mahal returning against Jeff Hardy. Now, the match was what it was. Jeff's essentially a glorified jobber at this point. He's trying to think actual age-wise. He's probably around like 42, 43. But let's be honest, he's 42, 43 with a body probably the 70-year-old at this point. How much shit he's been on. But he could obviously he can still move around, do some stuff. But it's not Jeff Hardy in WrestleMania 17. Let's just put it that way, right?
Right.
So Jinder beats Jeff, and he has basically what they did. What they did was this is the way I put it. Paul and Vince probably sat down at one point and said, "I don't know what to do with Shane. This shit with Malcolm's working." God damn it, give me them. I'll put them on Jinder. That's essentially what it probably was like.
I mean, I don't understand why they split up into share.
At least Jinder has that going. To me, they're more.
They ate the Bollywood boys.
Guys. Yeah, they're more legitimate, badass looking guys to have than the Bollywood dudes everywhere. So I'll give them that. I think, to me, if you're trying to rebuild Jinder, it's not a bad way to start. But I just don't know where you're gonna go with rebuilding Jinder, given the talent that's still around. Like, how do you get Jinder to that role with Drew and Bobby and Ron? Probably not. Maybe you get him into the U.S. picture with Sheamus, whatever's going on with the U.S. title eventually. I just don't know where else to go with him right now.
I mean, Drew has expressed that he wants to work a feud with Jinder. And I mean, I think in the internet community, like, that's something that everyone would want to see. Like, I mean, if they rebuild Jinder properly, he was a main eventer before. He held the title for a decent amount of time. They could bring him back up to that level to be a main event mechanic. And I think him and Drew could do good business together.
Let's just put this out there. Jinder's been around the company on what? A decade-ish? Give or take? Do you maybe angle to where... I'm not saying Jinder's washed up. I mean, I don't have any opinion. Honestly, he's one of those guys where I have a neutral opinion. I don't love or hate his ring work. It is what it is. But, like, do we get to a point where maybe we angle towards him mentoring Shanky and Veer into the tag division eventually? Because, let's just say
that could work.
There's not a whole lot of legitimate tag teams in WWE where it's a natural tag team. Like, Lucha's just a clusterfuck of putting two random people together.
It's because Vince keeps splitting up the good tag teams. That's why.
Right, it's just, because, and some people would say, WWE hates tag team wrestling. It's just the way they recruit their talent. They don't recruit a whole lot of talent that necessarily is going to have terrific chemistry together to make a legitimate tag. That's just the way it is. They're looking for athletes, people who totally all kinds of backgrounds. And the odds of getting them to work together in harmony and look like a legitimate tag team, it's landing in a bottom these days. Like, you're lucky to have. You don't even have any legitimate tag teams like you have in NXT right now. Considering that recruiting process.
Yeah.
And WWE, on the main rosters, it's look, like New Day, they've been together forever.
You got the Viking Raiders, you got the Street Profits.
Lucha licked. I could have just said Lucha licked. Just smack me upside the head. I'm sorry. That's teasing what happens later in the show. I'm so sorry. I should have just said Lucha House Party. I know you want to smack me inside the head. I'm sorry. Don't hit me.
I have no use for them.
Don't hit me. Okay, so that's the Jinder thing. So then after that we had Arcade Bro and New Day beating AJ Omos and Riker and Elias. Okay, you brought two robberies together or whatever. It was kind of a shit-tastic match. But I gotta say this. I know it's not very manly for me to use this word about another man or another pair of men. The Arcade Bro thing is kind of adorable. Let's just put it out there. Like, I don't have any opinions on Riddle as a person. I've heard things, but as a character, the wannabe RVD pothead guy is kind of funny. Like,
I like Riddle. Riddle's a nice guy, and he's a solid fucking worker. And they're leaning too much into gimmick with him because he can fucking work. Like, he's fucking so solid and so fucking ring sound. I mean, the shit that he used to do when fucking Evolve with Catchpoint, holy fuck. And RK Bro just really pisses me off because we know it's going to be the same fucking story when it comes to the end of it. They're going to rack up a bunch of wins. They're going to get a number one contenders match against the Viking Raiders. They're going to lose. Orton's going to turn on.
Yes, I'm just glancing over Sheamus versus Humberto because Humberto got hurt and
Humberto done fucked up.
Basically, he landed on his ass and felt. I don't know. He felt.
Dimples Carrillo needs to go back to catering.
He did see to watch it. It was. I don't know if it was a case of Sheamus last second being like, I'm not feeling this move. Or if it was a case of Humberto trying to do too much.
I think it was both.
Maybe both. I don't know. But basically, we got Sheamus hunched over into the middle rope from the apron. Humberto's trying to do a sunset foot powerbomb onto the floor. And I don't know if Humberto half-assed it. I don't know if Sheamus had last-second thoughts about it. I don't know if Humberto's feet ate out from under him. I don't know. It was a weird thing where basically Humberto, for lack of a better phrase, landed on his ass. And Sheamus ended up landing on top of...
on his knees.
Humberto's lap, essentially. And then they stopped the match and just gave it to Sheamus because Humberto thought he was hurt, but it doesn't sound like he got hurt in the face following that.
I think it was one of those, they were just taking precautions and they were like, fuck it, let's just cut it early to be safe. You know, kind of like Pac knocking the fuck out of OC.
This is something I think I haven't heard about somebody else doing something like this. Oh, it's coming up. I'll see the book. It's coming up actually for more. Then we have I mentioned Lucha House Party vignette. I'm sorry for saying Lucha a bit earlier. I'll just keep calling Lucha House Party. We're not getting into that.
I have no use for them.
Who cares? Cedric versus Shelton. Shelton wins, but again, who really cares at this point? Cedric sounds weird. I don't know.
Shelton. Here's what do you call it? Not Shelton. Cedric. Cedric needs to learn that being a heel doesn't mean yelling everything. He has not learned that yet. And Shelton, like, they need to give Shelton one last big mid-card title run. Like, fucking have him feud with Sheamus right now. Seriously.
But to me, it's hard to find. I know I keep going back to generic thoughts about the business, but it's just blatantly honest. You have guys who can work, guys who can talk, and the guys who can work and talk. Cedric, to me, is just one of those guys who can work. He might be able to talk, but it just sounds weird. I know.
Yep.
To me, you can talk. You can talk. If you can talk, that's fine. but I want to be able to have the sound value that makes me believe you're talking. If that
Right.
makes any sense. So it's like I'm sure Cedric can do promos. I'm not doubting that. Like it's not as believable as. How should I put this? Like a perfect example. It's the same show. When MVP talks, you embrace his promo because it just sounds
Right.
When Cedric talks, it's almost like a 10-year-old doing a promo. And I hate saying it, but I love Cedric's work, but I don't know. That says all of this. Alright, so we got that. Oh, yes. Okay, so after that was Angel Garza and Drew Gulak talking backstage. You know exactly where I'm going, I think. So I want to see if I can grasp this. In NXT, Angel Garza was introduced as, and still is to this day, a Playboy character giving out roses and flowers and stuff. Basically, just going after anyone he feels like. He's also the same Angel Garza. When he beat Leo Rush, the Cruiserweight title, in NXT 1 year ago, he proposed to his girlfriend on live television.
Yeah, but nobody was watching that, don't you know?
No.
The 750,000 people that watched that don't remember it.
It's not like this is a guy that we know he has a fiance, and you still haven't played this character. How long does that be for his fiance? I'm not saying that he has an easily jealous fiance, but any woman, any self-respectful woman would be like, this is
the fuck, bro? I just have no use for Angel Garza in general. I think, honestly, if he didn't have the last name Garza, he would have never gotten signed. And he has the worst finisher on the fucking main roster.
I want to spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes in the writer's room, just to hear anything that comes out of the writers. I just want to know.
I still, to this day, don't understand how the wing clipper is a fucking viable finisher. Oh no, I'm taking an ass bump from a foot up. Boom. Oh no, how does that knock me out?
I feel like 5 minutes of writers room would just be Vince going, okay, pals, this is what we're doing. Like, it wouldn't even be the writers' talk. It would just be Vince being Vince.
Like, your last name's Garza. Do a fucking moonsault and shut the fuck up.
So then we got Asuka and Rhea. Oh yeah, that goes back to the backstage segment earlier. I'm not putting much stock in that one-on-one match.
We're gonna give away Asuka and Rhea that we just did at fucking WrestleMania. We're just gonna give it away again.
See, I'm not much for wrestlers being on commentary for matches.
Yeah, that's all that is a fucking. All that is a vehicle for outside interference. That's all it ever is.
Then we have my brain hurts with this program. Damian Priest and John Morrison. The winner gets to pick the stipulation for Damian Priest versus The Miz this weekend. If you have half a brain, you follow what's happening. We talked about it last week. Who won this match? Priest won. And Priest chooses a lumberjack match, which, plus it's Priest and Miz.
I have no use for Damian Priest.
Priest and Miz in a lumberjack match. Okay, we're not putting a fatal forward for the IC title. We're only putting the US title on the card. Okay, whatever. Anyways,
listen. This is going to be Damian Priest's swan song before he flounders into mid-card hell. He had his big spot at Mania because he was Puerto Rican and they needed someone to put with Bad Bunny. So he got that going for him. And now his run is about to end. because now it's just going to be, okay, yeah, you beat Miz, and now we're going to move on to the Miz versus Morrison feud that we never got years ago, and Damian Priest is going to go job out on main event, and my life will be so much better for it. Big league and motherfucker.
I'm not saying I want 12 matches squeezed into 3 hours. That's not what I'm saying. And I would never say that. But just hypothetically, let's put this out there. The pay-per-views have been running what? Aside from WrestleMania, 2.5 to 3 hours roughly? Ish. We're trying to take 6 matches and stretch it over 2.5 to 3 hours. So we're basically asking each match to go 20 to 30, including intros. I'm sorry, but let me pull up this card real quick. Off the top of my head, number 1, I don't want to see Priest and Miz go 20 with intros. Sorry, I don't want to see it. That's number 1. Number 2, as much as I love Dolph and Bobby, I don't want to see the SmackDown tag title match go 20 with intros.
None of the matches are actually going to go that long. They're going to flounder up with a lot of big, long entrances. They're going to throw in so many fucking commercials and promo packages. And the whole thing's only going to be like 2 hours. Because now that they're on Peacock, they don't give a fuck. The monthly pay-per-views that aren't the big 4 are only going to go like 2 hours.
Obviously, I'm kidding around when I say they're going to get 20. Because obviously they're going to have certain matches go longer than the others. Like obviously, like I'm assuming, well, I'm not going to assume about the triple threat for the Raw, for the WWE title, because I have a feeling, I have this weird feeling that Drew, Braun, and Bobby is going to go like, it's going to go the way of Brock Goldberg 2 at their second match at WrestleMania. We went 3 minutes, but it was the most intense man-thumping 3 minutes that we've ever seen at WrestleMania. It's going to kind of go that route, where the match is going to last 5 minutes, but these 3 beasts are just going to throw each other around like nothing for 5 minutes, and you're going to like it. Like, I feel like it's going to be one of those WWE title matches. Really, basically, kind of a la Brock and Drew at WrestleMania last year, where it was just like 6 or not
5 minutes.
Yeah, Brock and Drew. Yeah. I think it's Brock and Drew. Or even Goldberg and Braun. That both those title matches were the same way. You booked both of your top title matches the same exact way for WrestleMania 36. Good job, guys. I'm just noticing this now, a year and a half later, but good job, guys. But like, I just think it's gonna be that same style match, so that's probably not gonna go 20, unless they really are gonna ask these guys to go 20 and totally gas themselves halfway through. But whatever. So then you have, I'm just being hypothetical here, so that's 3 matches. Then you have Bianca Bailey. I'd be okay with that going 20-ish, maybe a little more, depending on. To me, that entertainment of that, and we'll get this a little bit. The entertainment of that match is going to not completely, highly depend on Bailey's heel. Her heel work is going to make or break that entire match.
Yeah.
And then what else? We got the triple threat Raw Women's title match.
The benefit of the 3 ways is that someone always gets to rest.
This is a spot where I think I wish 2 things. 1, I wish Becky was in there. I wish Becky Lynch was back after Becky in there. I think that would raise Charlotte a little bit, number 1. Number 2, or even Sasha in that spot. But obviously Sasha's on SmackDown, so neither here nor there. Number 2, I really like Rhea. I just don't know. Like, you know where I'm going with this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% positive. And I would say she could prove me wrong this Sunday, and I'd be totally for it. I'm just not 100% sure she's in that Charlotte, Becky, Bailey, Sasha I'd even put Asuka and Shayna level kind of worker in the division. I'm just not 100%.
I think she is.
Because you have that upper tier. You have it's those six really, and then it's kind of everyone else at this point. Bianca could get there because she's a tremendous athlete in her own right, and I think she's getting there. I don't think she's quite there, but she's on the cusp. But it's still those six, then Bianca as like the subcategory, and then I'd say I'm not going to put Brie in the same level as like a Dana or a Mandy, but like, there's a clear division between those top six, and then you have a couple of sub-contenders, which I would put as Rhea, Bianca. If they ever gave her the time of day to actually wrestle, I'd say, and she's shown this recently in her tag team work, Natalia, I guess you could put it there. As far as actual ring work's concerned. And then just kind of the rest. So, I'm not saying the spot's too big for her. That's not all I'm saying, no. I'm not saying the spot's too big. I'm just hoping that she's learning enough from last year's WrestleMania when she lost to Charlotte, this year's WrestleMania when she beat Asuka, and this Sunday she learns enough from those experiences where now she can go have the rocket strapped onto her and keep it on the upstream instead of going to the downstream. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's that. So I think that comes right. Flash, I'm not going to go that name again because those are typical blow off. Flash McIntyre Raw and so on. NXT. Carrying Cross off Team Fury, we knew that was going to be. Like, that was obviously a glorified squash. We knew that. Everybody knew that. The neighbors downstairs in my building who don't know wrestling knew that. Like, everybody knew it was a glorified squash, right? Then has the title rematch. The thing I think some people also saw coming, despite what happened the week before with that promo with the aisle and being done and all that, I think we all saw the Finn rematch coming as the next obvious thing for Period. So that was what it was. The next segment, Zango, and I'll title match with this week. I wasn't thinking about it. It was cool in the moment. That's all I'm going to go with for that one. I'm not going to say anything else. That's expected. Here we go. Okay. So, the first of two title matches on the night for NXT was Raquel Gonzalez, Mercedes Martinez. We were discussing this during the match. Raquel goes over, gets the win, retains the title. Overall, it was a quirky matchup. Points overall was decent, but there were quirky points, which we were discussing this at one point. I'm not totally sure if it was a disconnect between the two, or I don't know.
There was
things where there was something off.
There was a definite disconnect, and
I'm not totally sure, but
yeah, as someone like I trained with Mercedes, like she broke in a few years before me, but we had the same trainer, and she used to come to the dojo and train all the time. We both lived in fucking Waterbury, like known Mercedes forever. And Mercedes works so fucking crisp that if you see something off in a match, that means I don't want to say someone else fucked up. What I'm saying is somebody pissed her off. And I love Raquel Gonzalez, but I think she done pissed off somebody. That's all I'm saying.
I guess let's get the only question I have at this point involving Raquel. It's not even about any wrestling division. Well, it is, but not for any specific outsider or immediate surroundings. I think it's obvious if you just watch, and this is what I love about what's going on right now in this whole dynamic. It's not Raquel and what she's doing. And I think you know what I'm getting at. I love and adore character development without saying a word or making a move. And what you're seeing right now out of Dakota Kai is giving me wicked flashbacks to the build-up that she had for that War Games match with
Tegan Knox.
And I love it because it's subtle, but not too subtle that you don't notice it. And I think we're at a point where it's not a if, it's a when. Dakota just beats the shit out of Raquel with
tries. Yeah.
Or vice versa, or Raquel just gets sick of her at some point. And either way, there's bound to be an explosion at some point. Am I off on that?
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Like thought that's gonna happen. So we established that. Next we had Big Bro making their, I guess we'll call it their debut promo really, because we've only seen Swerve really on TV up until AJ Francis' involvement in the Leon Ruff match the week before. All in all, I mean, I didn't hate the promo. I mean, I thought they all got their individual characters out in it, which I liked about it. Like, it wasn't just Swerve standing there and talking for the group for 5 to 10 minutes. They all got to show some character in it, which is good because, like, the best example I can give, it wasn't like an NWO promo back in the days where it was just Bischoff and Hogan talking the whole time. You got to see everybody get involved. So I like that when it comes to a promo like that. So I'm going to not make an opinion about Big Bro until I see what they do over the next couple months. But for starters, that promo, I think, worked.
Definitely.
Setup and execution.
Yeah. And it's just good to see them using people that they had in that aspect. I mean, it finally gives Ashanti Adonis something to do. Top Dollar, it's good that they've been using him on an A&E show, so now he's actually kind of been introduced that he's been a trainee in WWE for a bit. The girl I don't know a lot about, but they're definitely leaning into the whole recording artist aspect because it hasn't been seen on NXT a lot, but like on Instagram Live and stuff, when they do like the interviews with people in NXT, Swerve is always there in his recording studio. He is always talking about it. So it's been leading up, just not on regular TV. And I think this will be good for all of them. And I hate people like, oh, this is a knockoff Hurt Business. No, it's not. This is the knockoff Death Row Records. And what they do with it is the sky's the limit.
So much done out of the promo, so it's just a matter of waiting to see, how the character. To me, it's not just really about what they do and who they do it to. It's really about the character's meshing, because to me, that's what it's all about with any kind of tag team, stable, anything, any kind of partnership on camera. It's not just about what they do and how they do it to the performance. It's how they are together as a group. How that presents itself on camera. So, to me, I'm going to keep my reservations, but with the promo, it's a solid start. I like it. So then we have. I love Cameron Jackson. Like, it's cool. It's absolute gold. And now Ted's going to be at NXT this Tuesday, which just came out this morning. I love it. I love it. I can't think what they're going to do Tuesday night when he's live.
And I love that DiBiase is the foil to him. Like, because like when you saw this coming, they're like, oh, they're going to do this, but then just to throw him in there to make him just be the bouncing point for him. There's so much they can do with that shit.
We'll just see local Albany product Bobby Fish come back. Look, all right, I see the reaction. Okay, look, I got to work with Bobby my first 6 months when my first 6 months in the business, so I got to know Bobby. Like,
I got to work with him 16 years ago when he was Jerk Jackson and he was begging for bookings everywhere and was a prima donna in the fucking locker room back then.
So Bobby comes in. So he saves Kyle, says, we got our own enemies, we'll meet down the road. Whatever. So basically, Bobby's back. They got their own stuff to deal with, so they're not going to meet together. They should meet. That is what it is. Then they finally had the main event, Kushida retains the title with the February title over Santos Escobar, 2 out of 3 falls. It makes me wonder, Santos might go out for a little while. I'm not saying that he's going to display on TV. Just makes me wonder if maybe there was an underlying issue. Because I don't know where you go with Santos at this point. Like
what they should do.
Without it being a tag, like helping them with the tag, rivalry with MSK. I just don't see where you go with Santos at this point in the division. Unless you're really going to have like a continuous rivalry with Kushida that goes month on month. Aside from that,
what they should do, because Santos has been spending the last Escobar. Santos has been the last year really showing that he can cut a great heel promo. He has an amazing presence. Now is time to shed the whole cruiserweight thing. Vince is clamoring for Latin American viewers on Raw. You put him on fucking Raw. He is your guy that can get the Latin American viewers, that can work lucha style, that can talk, and babyface or heel is someone that viewers will watch. Whether you bring fucking Zima Ion and fucking Mendoza with him, whatever. But Escobar needs to go to the main roster. I want Jimmy's new shirt.
On Sunday, and she challenges Cesaro. Basically, really, when you think about the way the booking went the week before, you kind of saw this little segment coming, including the Cesaro involved eventually, so that was whatever. And then we get back to taking Raw moving forward. Tamina and Natalya beating Shayna and Nia to become new women's tag team champs. So
it's about fucking time. There
are times where one of those 4 women, and you go through this out, I go deeper into detail. There's certain times where one of these women looks real good and does really for her does very well. There's other times where I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I think you know where I'm going with this. Like, to me, like, it has to be the 3rd Sunday after the first full moon of spring for Nia Jax to do a Samoan drop. Like, it's like she just picks and chooses when she's going to do it right or when she's just going to toss them and just do a back just do a backflip eventually when she does the like. Don't get me wrong. I respect Nia. You know, she's great for like bullying campaigns and body, body positivity. Like I get that, but just like in the ring, like girl, you can't pick and choose when you execute everything right. You gotta do it all the time, because that's when. And this has been said a couple of times with different stuff that's already happened with her. So you think you should have learned by now. But that's when you start getting a reputation of being unsafe. Like, for example, when she broke Becky's nose, if you remember in that Survivor Series built up a few years ago, and she legit broke Becky's nose. That wasn't just fake blood on her face, for God's sake. I want to say there was another incident. It may have been with Alexa Bliss or something where she was unsafe in the ring. I don't remember.
It's the thing that everyone talks about with Kairi Sane, where she did the fucking power bomb into the corner. And people need to shut the fuck up about that one, because Kairi Sane landed on her ass. She did not go head first into the turnbuckle.
And that's just, it's just the thing of the time, This is really, this is Brian and JJ teaching the next generation about wrestling. If you can't do the move safely, don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm just gonna say it. And this goes back to Humberto Carrillo on Monday. If you can't pull off a sunset flip powerbomb to the floor, 100% of your attempts, don't fucking do it.
Yep.
Just don't. And this goes back to. I'm going on a tangent here for a second. I'm sorry. This is like my first big tangent. And you're gonna get at least one each week. Like, this is the shit I couldn't stand on one of the two big things I couldn't stand on the independent scene was guys trying to do shit they can't do, or shit they thought they could do, but clearly don't have the physical capabilities to do it. Like, for example, if you're over 280, I don't think you should be coming up the top rope trying to do a 450. Fuck off, alright? Like, just stop that shit. Like, stop.
There's a couple of guys that can do it.
The crazy shit is, there's no body type that this excludes. This goes for the guys that are 120 pounds soaking wet. And this goes for the guys that are like 350 trying to do shit. Like,
if you're 175, stop trying to do a fucking choke slam. Shit makes no sense.
Like, let me put this out there. If you have a body type like Jeff Cobb or Keith Lee, or can't do the shit Jeff Cobb and Keith Lee can do, don't try to fucking do it. Alright? If you're the body type of Ricochet and can't do the shit that Ricochet does, don't try to fucking do it. Right?
Uh-huh.
Don't try to do pop stuff you can't. Don't try and do Seth Rollins' Phoenix Splash. Oh my god. Don't fucking try that. If you can't do it, don't try it.
Remember when a Phoenix Splash was a finisher?
I get sick of it. And this is probably why. Like, I got nuts. I can't wait for independent promotions to start ringing again around me. I might just, like, I know there's one that just had a show for the first time last weekend near you.
Yeah.
I might start driving to New England just to see shows because nothing happening in New York yet. Like, I'm feeling. I need to see shows just to see what stupid shit these guys are going to try to do since they haven't wrestled in 15 months. Like, and you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. These first shows back, okay? These first shows back post-COVID. These guys are going to try to do so much stupid shit on shows that's unnecessary, not just for their movesets, but for storytelling. They're trying to do so much stupid shit that it's going to make the matches fun.
Dude, what's even worse is there ain't been shows in fucking 15 months. These guys show up and, okay, granted, you know something? I am not the peak of fucking bodybuilder fucking, like, physical stature. Hell, I'm missing a fucking leg. But these motherfuckers show up to shows working who have not hit a gym or done anything like in over a year where they're like, every guy's got tits now. That's all I'm saying. There's guys 150 pounds with tits. Like, dude, you could be doing fucking push-ups at home. You don't mean to be like, oh, the gyms were closed, so I couldn't go lift. Motherfucker, what do you think they do in prison? Do freaking knuckle push-ups. Stop coming to the shows, going, looking flabby as shit, looking and wondering why no one's taking you seriously.
I'm going to sign the grumpy old man with what's up coming out. There's two things here. Number one, God, I miss the days where Jake Roberts' DDT and Shawn Michaels' super kick were considered finishing moves.
Right.
God, I fucking miss that. Number two, there is a partial resolution to the issue I just brought up. Partial resolution. Aside from the workers who can suffer what they can't do. That's the biggest part. Another small part of it, and I think you'll agree with this, if you're a promoter and you see somebody doing shit they shouldn't be doing, or doing shit in their matches that you know is going to completely fuck up a future match on the card, say something to them.
Oh, yeah.
Give their payday at the end of the night and say, good job. Fucking say something, okay? Because in the end, if these guys really want this dream to come true, they want to get to WWE, MLW, or Ring of Honor, or AEW, or whatever, they have to do something. They can't just keep doing the same old thing on every show they do, and then not get corrected until they do their audition tape for the E, or for MLW, or for AEW. Teach them as they go. Don't just let them go by the seat of their pants until they try making the big show, and then they wonder why their tape got rejected. Like, say something.
Dude, I will give you a prime example of that, because you were there. Credible's retirement show in Connecticut when he faced Tremont. You were on commentary. That fucking show, I had to be downstairs, and on the run sheet while all the matches, I had to write no super kicks on the fucking sheet because Credible does a super kick, and it was his fucking retirement match. And goddamn, if you're gonna fuck that up.
To me, it's just as much. But to me, it's almost as actually, I'd say it's almost 50-50. It's 50% talent knowing what they can do and what they're capable of doing. It's also a good percentage of there being communication, which is something that independent shows kind of lacks. Talk. Like, yes, talk to your opponent about your match and tell, I'm sorry, I'm about to break down the fourth wall a little bit. Tell the referee your finish, okay? But also talk to the other guys. See what they're doing. If they have a special spot they're doing, so you don't fuck it up for them, okay?
Thank you!
But just talk. Freaking talk. Don't just stand in one corner of the locker room getting dressed and talking to the referee. Discuss your match with other people too, so you don't cross each other's shit over. Why do I want to go back to independent shows? I'm just going to get angry. Why do I do this to myself? Whatever. I'll go. Alright, so let's not get back on topic. The women's tag titles, we just discussed it. We had the whole clusterfuck that was the medal presentation. We all know how those go in WWE. Harlem, Ian, Zayn, whatever. Which then sets up, like I mentioned earlier,
Baba Kato Z's gotta go
on live TV. Raiders. Then we had Raiders and Ziggler. We pretty much knew that was gonna go. Raiders over. Whatever. Bianca Bailey segment was not half bad.
Yeah.
It was sufficient. It got the job done.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, I did kind of like Bianca saying you were getting thrown down the ramp by the bells when I was main eventing. That was good. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
That was good line. Nakamura Corbin winning, don't mind it, but okay, do you remember Shinsuke having that weird ass funny looking crown? I think it was for WrestleMania against AJ he came out in it.
I think so.
Yeah, that instead of going to Jack and wore a cape, I think Usos are Wrestlemania face AJ. Can they get Corbin versus Nakamura with both of them wearing their crowns and just kind of doing like a 3-month thing where they just battle it out for King of the Ring so there's no goddamn tournament anymore? Like, just do the old school King of the Ring show where they just battle for King of the Ring every so often.
I think that's what they're aiming for. I think they're either aiming for that or a new King of the Ring tournament. I don't know, but I loved the whole Nakamura bit where he was like, heavy is the crown and I can't lift it and all that shit. Like, when Nakamura is on, he's fucking on. And last night, he was on.
And then the end of the show, Jimmy Uso and Cesaro, again, much like Monday night with the Drew, Braun, Lashley storyline, we knew it was going to just be the Raw
right
for Sunday, so whatever. It wasn't what it was. The only real question I had coming out of that at this point, do we really see Jimmy versus Roman down the line? Like, because like everything they're doing points to that, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to see that. Like,
I think we're going to end up seeing more of Jimmy versus Jay. We're going to see Jimmy versus Jay. It's going to be like the Briscoes in our OH. Like, I think that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I think Jimmy and Jay's going to be the way to go, at least initially, and then maybe build Roman into it. Like, maybe have Jimmy and Jay initially, and then if Jimmy wins, it leads to Roman. Like, that I could see.
But then we're rehashing Jay versus Roman like less than a year later. Like, I want to say it doesn't make sense, so they won't do it, but this is the creative team, and they don't really care if shit makes sense.
But here's the feel I'm kind of getting right now, and it's not a perfect fit for a comparison, so don't go on social media in your basements and blow up on me for making this comparison. It's kind of like Daniel Bryan and the Wyatt family-ish in a way.
Yeah.
Where, they brought in, by force they brought Daniel in, and then by force Daniel got out. It's kind of got that same vibe to me where I think Roman does something physically, or maybe there's a match between them, and Roman squashes him, and they bring Jimmy in via stipulation to the family, and then they blow it off down the road. Like, that's, like, aside from the Jimmy versus Jay match, that's the only way I can really see anything happening.
Dude, you know what I would love in a perfect world? This will never happen, but in a perfect world, have Jay keep getting knocked down by Roman and Jay. Have Jimmy keep getting knocked down by Roman and Jay. Knock down, where Jimmy's just like, where Jimmy gets told he's never going to be anything and that he's not really part of the family and all this shit. And just one day, boom, Jimmy shows up with the Gorillas of Destiny and is like, what now? That would make me fucking pop. Shows up with fucking Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, be like, I brought the other family, fuck you.
So this leads us to hot list. Weekly top 5. Every week we're going to do a top 5 around a certain category, question, debate topic, whatever. And when it comes to top 5 lists involving wrestling, there's an obvious topic that pops right in. That pretty much any wrestling head is going to want to discuss. And it's ironic because this week, our episode is sponsored by the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. This list this week involves top 5 omissions from the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, we're going to put this out there right away because, again, I don't want any keyboard warriors coming after us. Owen Hart and Chris Benoit do not count for this discussion. They both Well, in-ring, terrific. In-ring gets the Owen, obviously we know what's going on with Martha. That's never happening. Chris, do I need to say why Chris isn't in the Hall of Fame? Thank you.
Not
I'm not
happening.
going to say it. Okay? What happened, happened. Okay? We're not going any further. So, top 5 omissions. So top 5 people not currently in the WWE Hall of Fame who we think should get it. Now, I already teased this to JJ that I went a little outside the box. Um, so like let me be very blunt. As far as in-ring performers, this is probably going to cause a little bit of bitch fit right now from JJ. I only have 2 in-ring performers in my top 5.
That's fine.
Because to me, there are 3 glaring omissions of non-wrestlers that just have to happen. Like how they're not in already boggles my freaking mind. So, you know, we're gonna get to that in a sec. So here's what we're gonna do. Um, so here's what I'm gonna take a quick time out. So move us. I'll explain to JJ in a second. Just gonna take a quick time out. And then we'll do the top 5. And then we're also going to give our predictions for Wrestlemania Backlash. So just a quick time out. We'll be right back right here on White Heat debut episode. Powered by Gozilla Media. Sorry about the delay, folks. Well, it's episode 1, so we're just doing minor technical stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the power of technology going live. We're going on the fly, and we're just going to roll with the punches at this point. All right, so let's get right into it. So our top 5 list, our hot list for this week. Top 5 omissions from the WWE Hall of Fame. JJ, I'm going to let you kick it off and go with what we'll do is we'll go with our 5s and our 4s, our 3s, our 2s, and our 1s. JJ,
Okay.
we'll do is begin. Roll with your number 5 and just throw out who your number 5 is and explain why.
So my number 5 is Ivan Koloff, just because 3rd WWF champion, did a whole bunch of stuff in the business. Like, I'd love Nikita as well, but Ivan, just like, he was a former WWF champion. Why is he not in yet? Like, from the original lineage, he should be in already.
Now, I'll be honest, I actually had Ivan and Nikita on my honorable mentions. Just because I have a feeling if one goes in, they might go in together. Because for whatever reason listen, it's not because I want them to put them in together. I just feel like the way WWE does things, they'll marry them together and have them go in as the Koloffs.
Yeah.
Because they were tag team champions for a while there, and they also have their individual accolades. So, but I did have them both on my honorable mentions list. So I'm glad you mentioned Ivan Koloff. Number 5 for me. This goes with my first non-in-ring competitor. See, to me, let's go back to 1984. Okay, 1984. You had the gradual growth of the World Wrestling Federation becoming a national and eventually global entity. And Vince is taking over, he's getting all this talent. What they needed some kind of affiliation with mainstream media, with pop culture. Okay? So you have Hulk, he's in the Hall of Fame. Roddy Piper's in the Hall of Fame. Captain Walbero is in the Hall of Fame. So if you have all those rock and wrestling connections in the Hall of Fame, where's Cyndi Lauper?
Right. Like, I agree with that. I can get that.
And not only is it because of the Hogan Piper stuff, Wendy Richter, hello, like she led Wendy down to the ring. So to me, how you have all those other people involved in that war to sell the score, you have all those other connections in the Hall of Fame. But you even have Mr. T in the Hall of Fame, okay?
Yeah.
But you don't
he loves
have
his mama.
Cyndi freaking Lauper. Like, to me, that is that, to me, it's the most glaring celebrity wing omission in the Hall of Fame is Cyndi Lauper.
I agree, and Jim Cornette brought that up recently. Yeah, I agree. So, Cornette brought that up.
That to me is just like ridiculous. I can't believe that she's not in there. Like I remember going through the list a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, shit. Like I didn't know how to react. That's how baffled I was. I was so baffled that I had to do a double take. Like, please, she's not there. I had to go through the list 2 or 3 times to make sure. So Cyndi Lauper for me was number 5. JJ, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the devil himself, Kevin Sullivan. He's been around forever. Booker for WCW, major player in a lot of big storylines. I just think Kevin Sullivan deserves to be in.
Yeah, to me, Kevin Sullivan, like he was also on my honorable mentions list. To me, I mean, listen, let's just be blunt. He's the reason he was a big part of why Hulk ever went to Hollywood. Right? If you go back and really look at the history of how WCW took off with the NWO angle, Kevin Sullivan was a huge part of Hulk even doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, that's a no-brainer. Like, you gotta have Kevin in there at some point. Another one of how he's not in there just baffles me. Number 4, stick with outside of the ring. See, to me, it's about marrying the past with into the Hall of Fame. And there's all kinds of pieces from NWA Award that have made them the Hall of Fame. How are there no members of the Crockett family in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
No David, no Jim, nobody. Like Jim
Yeah.
Crockett Promotions is the reason that NWA was held in such high regard in the 80s and eventually, Jim Crockett Promotions essentially was WCW until '94 when Hulk and Macho and all the WWE products crossed over. Like, they were the WCW for the longest time. Road Warriors, Flair, Steamboat, Sting, Luger. I mean, on and on and on. Like how you like the Crockett family. I mean, that's just.
I can agree with that.
And the thing was, I had Paul Bosch on my list at 1.2, but I missed it. Paul Bosch got in. I think it was either he went in this year, but I can't remember if it was the 2020 or 2021 he was considered. But he got in this like literally a month ago, so that was a wrong number. Probably in big part by Cruz Pritchard, but whatever. So Paul Game was the right thing, but now it's time for the Crockett family. The Crockett family to me should have been going in before Bosch, but whatever. The Crockett family is number 4 for me.
Yeah. They'll probably go into the legacy wing.
JJ, who do you have at
number 3? Rick Martel. Former tag team champion, was there through thick and thin, also held mid-card titles in WCW, former AWA champion. Like, I just can't see why it's been so long that he's been passed over. Like, Rick Martel has been a long part of the lineage of the 3 major companies, WWF and NWA and WCW, or sorry, WCW and AWA. Like, he should be in at this point. Like, Can-Am Connection, Strike Force, even his work as the model, whether people liked it or not, his resurgence in the mid-90s in WCW, like, and even the fact that the night he got injured leading to Booker T's first TV title run, like, he's been an integral part of the industry for so many years that he should be in.
You know, to me, if you're in, and, you know, everything's open to debate here, but to me, if you're in one of the most awkward yet memorable WrestleMania matches of all time, talking about him and Jake at WrestleMania 7 in the Blackpool match, like,
right?
Come on, like, dude, and plus, and I'll even add on to that. To me, the entertainment value of his match with Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam '92 is a bit underrated. But just the chemistry between him, Shawn, and Sherry in that match, like top to bottom, start to finish, hilarity. Like, Rick wasn't just in ring really good. His stuff turning on Tio at WrestleMania was great. Like, he had a lot of moments there. And I see title with Razor Ramon when Shawn was there and not there, and taking everything bagels, but they were steroids, whatever. So it was. I knew you laughed about that. It's just I don't know. Rick's definitely an omission for sure. Number 3, it's my last outside the ring omission. So let me ask you a question, JJ. When you're thinking of the wrestling product, obviously the in-ring presentation is tremendously important. But to me, don't you think the presentation around the wrestler is just as much as the presentation of the wrestler himself?
Definitely.
So to me, how is Jim Johnston not in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Jim Johnston was... He created so much of the sound to the 80s and 90s WWE. Like, how... Like you want to talk about contributors to WWE not named the McMahons? Like, Jim Johnston is definitely, like, top tier to me as to guys behind the scenes that should be in but aren't in. Like, that's just a sin to me that he's not in.
Yes, but Jim Johnston also fucked over people. if you ever listen, R-Truth has a long story to tell about how Jim Johnston got a gold record for WWF The Music Volume whatever, where the Gold K-Quick theme, which Ron Killings wrote and got no credit for, but Jim Johnston got all the money for it. So Johnston, yes, in some aspects, but he also kind of fucked over some people along the way.
All right, so now we move on to our top two on each of our list. So what's your number two omission there, Jacob?
My number two, Demolition. No matter like them or hate them, talk about if they're a ripoff of the Road Warriors or not, they were still a huge staple of WWE. Before the New Day broke the record, they had the longest record as tag team champions. Like, how are they not in by now? Like, and they're still working. They're still fucking doing indie spots. Like, dudes are in their fucking 60s and still working. Come on, put them in the Hall of Fame.
I don't get why. I guess the question becomes, was there controversy with either of them leaving? Like, I don't know if there
Not that I can think of.
About either of them. And then, we all know what Barry Darsow went on. He went on the Repo Man, and then he did a whole bunch of stuff in WCW, which
Blacktop Bully.
He was. Oh God, I was watching one of the Super Brawls recently. What was it? Blacktop Bully, was it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness! It was him versus Dustin at Super Brawl. And then then he had that golfer gimmick towards the end, which, oh my goodness, because he brought out the fake putting green, and oh my goodness, funny, but very, 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 very. And then on top of that, very Crusher Khrushchev, right? Yeah, I mean, like, just Barry alone, like, not just Demolition, Barry himself, like, he did so much.
Yeah.
Wow, I totally blanked on that for a second. But yeah, like, Barry alone is a sin. Demolition, obviously, like, that's no point for Demolition. Which, knowing Vince, they're gonna ruin it and include Crush and make it a three-way induction, but whatever. Although that angle at WrestleMania 7 was funny with Hart Foundation and LOD. That was a cool ending, but that's neither here nor there. Whatever. I'm just dragging on the segment for no goddamn reason. All right. Number two is one that I have a feeling we are going to really agree on. Because we have similar mentalities about in-ring work, I feel like. And what this guy has done for the business, like, he influenced so many people, especially European wrestlers. Like, if you talk to guys like Cesaro, you talk to Drew McIntyre, you talk to Sheamus, Wade Barrett, they're all going to bring up a group of similar names. They'll probably bring up Bulldog. They'll probably bring up Doug Williams. Move aside. Your current NXT General Manager, William Regal. All right? Like, hands down. Like, I mean, how do you not? Aside from he's a man, such a man, exclude that part out, like, he was just a man. He was a Bare Knucks champ. He was a European heavyweight champion. He made the WCW TV and US titles look amazing. Could have been a WCW tag champ with John
Bobby Eaton. And Bobby Eaton.
True, yep. And then WWE, I mean, again, he was held within the IC title, European title range, but like you go back, his IC title matches against RVD and Chris Jericho at a couple of WrestleManias, like they stand up to basically any of the matches on those cards. Like he was a tremendous technician, and he has done so much for the business beyond the ring since retiring from in-ring competition. I mean, William Regal has to be in there, and he's my number 2. And yeah, I'm kind of ruining what's about to happen, but JJ, your number 1, go for it.
My number 1 was William Regal.
I totally blew up your spot on you, and I'm sorry, but I didn't even know your number 1 until about 10 minutes ago. And I was like, well, okay, oh well, that happened.
So I agree on everything.
I mean, just like think of it this way, okay? If you go over the last 20 years of talent that's come in doors to WWE, you could argue William Regal has been the biggest and best talent recruit for WWE the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. I mean, now I'm just talking about, like, you know, like going to Evolve shows, going to PWG shows. Like, he's been going to Europe, he's gone to India, like, he's gone all over the world. Japan, he's gone all over the world and brought in tremendous talent that would thank William Regal to this day for them getting in the door.
And I know we don't want to mention him, but one of the bonus features on the Chris Benoit DVD is Regal versus Benoit at the Owen Hart tribute show like 20 years ago. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So since my number 2 and number 1, we basically just jointed ourselves at the hips for that reveal. Let me give you my number 1 then. Now, I put him in as my number 1 because I honestly don't know why he's not in there. Like I legitimately, it's not just because of his talent. Like I legit don't know if there's an issue that's with him not being in. A la Owen or Benoit, like not in that realm, but like I don't know if there. To quote the name of the show, I don't know if there's any heat there that would cause for him not being in the Hall of Fame yet. But when you think of guys whose talent transcended their body types, I mean, Bam Bam Bigelow, like, hello. Like, Bam Bam Bigelow is the biggest influence on the greatest big guys walking around the industry right now. Like, he's like Jeff Cobb, Keith Lee, Bronson Reed. Like, he is the big guy everybody refers to in the last 20 to 30 years for his work. And we're like going beyond just WWE and the work he did there. I mean, think about the work he did in ECW with Taz. I mean, that work was tremendous around the TV title. His WCW work was meh. Like WWE, like he first comes in with
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yep. He comes in there Oliver. And does work there. Works with Hogan. He worked with Hogan his first run, and then eventually comes back and I mean, him and Luna, they were great together. The match against Doink and Dick at WrestleMania 10's more forgettable.
His feud with Tatanka was great.
For God's sake, he made a event at WrestleMania with a non-celebrity and made LT look good. I mean, come on. He made a guy like no business in the ring look like $1 million at WrestleMania 11. That alone is Hall of Fame worthy. Then not everything else. I mean, Bam Bam's a surefire. Gotta go.
So I think the issue is with Bam Bam, King Kong Bundy, Vader, and the guys of that ilk is Vince didn't get them in before they died. And now they're going to end up part of the legacy wing, unfortunately, because Vince hates posthumous inductions. He did one for Davey Boy just because. But generally, if you dead, you go in the legacy wing. And it's nice, but at the same time, it's kind of like swept under the carpet.
Now, I'm just going to throw out a few of the honorable mentions I have listed on here. Because it's a long list. Like I told you, I think it was last night or the night before I told you, I had a list of like 35 deep. I had to whittle it down to 5. That's how ridiculous some of these omissions are from the Hall of Fame. And you were about the same way, I think, too, with your list.
Uh-huh.
But like, I'll just throw out a few, just to for the sake of shits and giggles. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up anyone's ass by saying these two names, but Bruce and Dr. Tom, both Pritchards,
yes,
very instrumental people. They should get in. One of the best managers of all time, Jim Cornette's on the Hall of Fame. Now, granted, he's done a lot of talking out of his ass the last few years on his podcast, but it's at least talking out of his ass is more towards AEW than WWE. So that could actually put him in good graces with Vince. So, like, Cornette, and speaking of Cornette, the Midnight Express, like, you want to talk about tremendous tag team, you mentioned Demolition, Midnight Express, they definitely should be, in my opinion. Who else?
The Fantastics as well. Same ilk. The Fantastics should be in there.
As far as big men, by the way, Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
Like, he should be in. Now, this is about to pain me. What I'm about to say. There's one stable that I think should get it. Considering what it led to for the future of the business, but it pains me because it means somebody might be a 3-time Hall of Famer by the time they pass away. Well, 2 people. One I don't have a problem with, the other one I might have a little problem being a 3-time Hall of Famer. Evolution.
Yeah.
Like, that would obviously make Rick a 3-time Hall of Famer, which, okay, duh.
And Tripp's a 2-time, and you know he'll be a 3-time eventually.
And then you figure he's going to go in individually as a 3-time, so it's like, again, we're not blowing smoke up anyone's ass. We're not kissing anyone's ass on this podcast, but, I mean, they made Randy Orton and Batista into who they were and what they eventually became. So, like,
yep,
you can't change that. Like, it was what it was. They were, for lack of a better phrase, for that time, they were the modern day 4 horsemen in that respect. Like, you had Rick, you had Hunter, and then you had Randy and Batista. Although imagine if Jindrak was in there. Woof. Mark Jindrak. I can't believe that was actually a thing for a second there. They even did the vignettes with Jindrak. And then I'm just going to throw out 3 women quick, and then we'll move on. 3 women who should be in the Hall of Fame. One, and I think this is because of extenuating circumstances. 2 of them are extenuating circumstances right now. One, Elizabeth. It's got to happen at some point. You put Macho in, you got to have Liz in. 2, I don't give a damn that DX went in. You have to put China in individually. You have to. Like, I know it's kind of but no offense, I love her. But if you put Jacqueline in, you got to put China in.
I like Jackie. Jackie deserved it.
Listen. China was like, she was the star. She was in the Men's Royal Rumble. She was an Intercontinental Champion, a Women's Champion. I don't know. I just feel like China should be given the respect of having an individual induction aside from DX. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I just think that. And then the third one, you're probably going to roll your eyes and want to punch your computer screen for me saying the third one. She took what Sunny did and raised it up 5 levels. Sable? I know. Her in-ring work was awful. But if you're going based on...
She was a cunt to everyone in the locker room! She hated the business.
I just think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't like it either, but I just feel like at some point it's going to happen, especially considering who she's married to right now. I mean, I know. And for those of you who live under a rock, she's married to Brock Lesnar. So,
Bork loser.
Lesnar.
Bork.
Right, so,
Bork.
All right, so now we get to finally. So that's the hot list, by the way. That's going to be every week, different topic. I'll try not to ruin JJ's number one selection ever again. So we'll just go from there. But anyways, so now we get to the end of the show where we're obviously we're not going to do this every week, but since it is a pay-per-view weekend, we're just going to throw out our predictions real quick about WrestleMania Backlash, which I'm sure you think the same thing. Who gives a shit about adding WrestleMania to the name? It's Backlash, okay? It's freaking Backlash.
Right?
It's a Vinceism, I know. It had to be a Vince call. It had to be a Vince call. Because Hunter wouldn't give me a damn. It had to be a Vince call. But whatever. Anyways. Alright, so let's just start with the most shit-tastic match and work our way to the meat. Lumberjack match. Damian Priest and Miz. I think we can both agree. Probably Damian. Because let's just put it this way: until he gets a proper push again for a title, Miz is there to put shine on other people.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a means to an end. It's going to be Priest going over with Morrison somehow being a factor in the finish, so we can finally break up Miz and Morrison and have them feud, because we never got to have that the last time they split up. They just split them up. So now we get to have the Miz versus Morrison feud.
Moving on to let's do the SmackDown tag titles. Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. What? Did I say something? The Dirty Dogs thing, isn't it? It was the Dirty Dogs, isn't it?
No, I like the Dirty Dogs.
Sorry. So Ziggler and Roode against Rey and Dom Mysterio, with Mysterio become the first ever father-son team to win the tag team titles in WWE. Oh yeah, what a feel-good story. I'm not a fan of the match, but it is what it is. What do you think? Do you think they're really going to do this to us? Are they really going to? I mean, Dolph always gets him in his ass, it seems like. Are they really going to do it to him again and put the belts on Rey and Dom? I was thinking, oh boy. For my own sake, I'm hoping that
so here's my train of thought. And I do not want this to happen. But the Mysterios are going to win. One, because they do that feel-good father-son bullshit. And two, they're going to do this now, and sometime in June, have them drop the tag belts to someone else and have Dominic get injured, because they know in their heart of hearts that once they go back to live crowds, a live crowd will fucking eat Dominic alive, because he doesn't belong there yet. Kid is walking nepotism. Should have gone to NXT, didn't, because Daddy said so, and went straight to the main roster, and the crowd will fucking eat him alive. That's why, I guarantee you, that's why the SmackDown tag title match was on the SmackDown before Mania and not on the pre-show. Because they knew.
really painful. Like, saying goodbye to Ray, like, we'll give you this going away present. Have fun with it. Welcome to goodbye. I can't. I'm gonna go with Dolphin Robert and hope I'm right. Women's title matches. Let's start with Raw. Triple threat. Ripley, Asuka, Charlotte. Um, I see this going one of two ways. Either they stick to building Rhea and they keep the belt on her, and they just start trying to build her. They keep trying to build her up, like I'm hoping they're trying to do. Because I mean, they did give her the one-on-one victory over Asuka and Ross, so maybe that's what they're really going to try to do. Or option B, they're just going to take the easy way out and just throw the belt back on Charlotte. I'm hoping they go the way of Rhea, so I'm going to pick Rhea. But I just have this gut feeling that's not what's going to happen. JJ, what do you think?
So I'll preface this by saying I love all three participants. I don't have a bad thing to say about any of them. That being said, I think this is where the sins fall on the creative team. And because they shoehorned Rhea into WrestleMania because of the whole screw up with Charlotte being pregnant, which she wasn't, and all that, and put the title on her, I think that now, because they're not smart, they're going to have Rhea lose the title, probably by Asuka getting pinned by Charlotte. Charlotte's going to regain the title, and then at whatever the June pay-per-view is or the July pay-per-view, they will have Rhea finally beat Charlotte one-on-one in her redemption story. But in the meantime, she is going to be a victim of this, and Charlotte, once again, will hold the title for the next couple of months. So, Charlotte.
I know I told Charlotte an easy way out, but now that I'm sitting here thinking about it a little bit more, I think Charlotte's better being chased than being the chaser. So I guess booking wise, it would make in that as far as having thoughts in that direction, it makes sense for Charlotte to win and make Rhea the chaser. I suppose. It's just, I don't know. I'm just but like we'll move on. I'm just I don't know. I'm indifferent about it. SmackDown Women's title. We've got Bianca and Bayley. I don't see them taking the belt off after just a month.
Yeah, no.
So I'm sensing Bianca takes it. I just don't think it's not going to be clean. I think they do Bianca by DQ. I think they're going to stretch this out a bit. I think they have Bayley get DQ. I don't see this because
I could see that.
Because let's just put it this way, okay? It's not Carmella, it's Bayley. They're not going to have it as a one, all right? And sorry, Corey Graves, but Carmella, Bayley, come on.
Yeah.
This isn't a one-off match. This is something I think they can grow. How much more they can grow outside of matches. But you don't just do a one-off with Bayley in this regard. Like, this is something you build maybe towards SummerSlam, maybe, because you gotta assume live crowds are coming back at some point. I mean, AEW is doing live crowds in July.
July, same July.
So you could build up for SummerSlam and potentially have a live crowd for SummerSlam and have that be like a big blow off for them. So I would say Bianca by DQ, Bayley out. I'm not going to quote how the DQ is, probably a chair or something stupid like that. But,
I can see that. Yeah, I go with Bianca as well, and I can definitely see that.
All right, so now we get to the two big title matches. I'm going to save the one that I think has the most drama for last. We're going to focus on the Raw one first. We're going to focus on the WWE title first. The almighty WWE champion. You're welcome for that. I just know how to piss you off real well. So it's Lashley defending against Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. Obviously, you know, Bobby won it off Miz back in March, early March, off Miz. After he cashed in against Drew. Then Bobby beat Drew at Mania. And now Braun wants a shot. Drew wants another match, so now it's a triple threat way. You know, it's like I mentioned earlier. I just have a feeling. I just have this weird feeling that it's just going to be three big dudes mashing at each other for 8 to 10, and then Bobby comes out the win somehow. But I think Drew is too good at chasing right now with Bobby. Like Drew look at this one. Drew chasing Brock was good. Drew chasing Randy, I wasn't very keen with. But Drew chasing Bobby, it's not quite at Drew chasing Brock level, but I think it's in between. Like, it's not as bad as chasing Warren, but not as good as chasing Brock. Plus, adding Braun in the mix kind of adds a little level of mystery into the whole thing. So, to me, there's only one of two things that can happen. Because, to me, you eliminate Drew. Drew is not in the equation for winning the match. It goes one of two ways. Braun wins because of an F-up by MVP, or Bobby wins. Like, they're going to do your traditional Braun hits, or no, they'll do like the traditional Drew hits a Claymore on Strowman. Bobby throws Drew out of the ring and then pins Strowman. Like, that's because, let's admit it, they're not going to have Strowman tap out to the Hurt Lock. Like, let's just get that out. They're not going to have Braun tap, right? So it's got to be some kind of fucked finish where Drew hits the Claymore, Drew gets thrown out, Bobby gets the pin. Like, that to me is the most logical finish we're probably going to see in that match. And then logical option B is some kind of messed up finish where MVP messes something up and Braun wins the game. But again, I think Lashley is.
Yeah, and so I'll preface this by saying that I've met Lashley. Lashley is a very nice guy. He's a nice person. So I'll never say anything bad about his character. But I'm sorry, he can't work, he can't talk. He's a big jacked up dude, and that's why he is where he is. Nothing against the man personally. But in this case, because of the fact that Drew didn't get the win at Mania, I think they're going to continue the chase. I think Bobby's going to win as well. I think Strowman is going to take the fall. I think they're going to stretch this out further and maybe have Drew get the big win at SummerSlam where the next big crowd is. I also think we should keep an eye out because I don't know how, I don't know why, but I think we're going to see the return of Keith Lee during this match.
All right, now we get to the grand finale, the match that has been teased as the main event. And that's the Universal title. Roman Reigns, the head of the table. I feel. Is it me or Roman's promo is just getting more and more creepy the lower and lower he speaks? Almost to a whisper at this point. Kind of weird. Anyways, it's almost like a bad creeper movie. Anyways, so it's Roman defending the Universal title against Cesaro. You know, it's funny because I feel like Roman, and I don't know if he went out there on purpose to do this or if he just did it by the seat of his pants with Heyman the other night or last night. He basically spoke what I was thinking about this match, and you probably feel the same way. Do you really think Fox wants Cesaro as the Universal Champion? And I know it sounds awful. It sounds awful. But let's be real. He was kind of spitting truth in a way when he said that.
Yeah.
When he mentioned Fox,
Yeah.
he mentioned he mentioned a couple other things. But when he said the Fox line, I was like, oh boy, that's a little too deep. But I like that. That was good. Like, Roman doesn't say a whole lot of stuff that makes me think, but that made me think.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go with Roman because I just don't feel like Cesaro's the guy they are looking to be the one that beats the one. If that makes sense. Like, they built Roman up so much. I don't know if just randomly bringing up Cesaro within a month span is the right answer. Like, if anyone was the answer, it was probably Daniel Bryan to a point. But now if that's dead and gone, I just don't think Cesaro is the option. At least not yet. If they build on it from here, maybe. But as far as tomorrow night specifically is concerned, I just don't see it happen. I gotta go.
Yeah. I don't see Roman losing, and it sucks because I love Cesaro, and I think Cesaro deserves that. He deserves that main event push, but I don't see it happening I think Roman's going to be holding on to that belt for at least another few months. They're going to bring him to at least a 1-year reign before they even think about taking it off of him. I think Cesaro eventually will get a title run, possibly on Raw. Like once they do the draft at the end of the year, that's a possibility. Or what I would really love to fucking see is Cesaro go against Walter and take the NXT UK title off of Walter, because that match would be just astounding. I would love it. But yeah, as far as Sunday goes, I don't see Roman dropping. That's the way it is.
So basically, we're seeing the pay-per-view pretty much on the same wavelength, except for we disagreed on the SmackDown tag titles. Like, well, hesitantly, I disagree. Like, I kind of feel the same way as you with Mysterios, but in my heart of hearts, I just really want to see Ziggler and Woodward keep the belts.
Yeah.
Even if Coach were the only disagreement we have. I mean, again, I'm kind of hoping Rhea, but I could see Charlotte definitely being the winner there. But otherwise, I think we're pretty much on the same page with everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. You got any parting thoughts, words of wisdom? You want to impart on our audience there, JJ?
Not really. I'm just happy we got through this first one, and hopefully it's smoother sailing from here on out.
So that wraps up for episode 1. Next week, I don't know if we're going to be live or not. We'll see. Doubt it, but we'll see. Who knows? This might be the only live show every week from Gozilla Media. Who knows? This is what the boss man says. With that being said, we thank you for tuning in to White Heat, sponsored by the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's JJ Alexander. I'm brian.cady. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter. I'm at brian.cady. That man is at JJ_Alexander. If you have any questions, comments about the show, it's brian.cady. It's BRIAN.CADY, CADY, at GozillaMedia.com. And we'll gladly bring up your questions or comments on the air. And do us all a favor. This is our one request in the show. if you got them, smoke them, or pour a glass out for New Jack tonight. That's all I'm going to say. So with that said, that's JJ. I'm Brian. We'll catch you next week on White Heat right here with Gozilla Media.